What's up everyone, how you doing? Lethal Concept here, back with my Back to Basics guide. This one is the last one covering the human engineer. And oh boy, the reason I know if you read the early guides that my human engineer was going to be my first, or not my first, sorry, my third or fourth, and I put him off to last because this character is the character I used my most respecs on. This guy was incredibly hard to play and find a decent build where it didn't feel like the only thing I was actually doing for the team was debuffing and that was it. You feel incredibly squishy with no innate way to regen shields and health and no damage reduction at all, and especially because both your main skills are charging skills, your cryo beam and overload, and your assault turret hits like a wet noodle, and everything that looks at it just makes it just disappear off the face of the earth. So this is the build that I am using and are using gold. Basically, well, it took me about I would say 15 to 20 respecs to get here. Other characters took about 5 maybe, but this is the build that the build that I would use on Human Engineer for gold. So we got Cryo Beam maxed, Overload max, Offensive Tech max, and Support System max. Cryo Beam, I went with Recharge over Damage because you're using this mainly as a debuff. Power explosions obviously in this game, if you played it for a while, don't do as much as they did in Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. Brittle Freeze, so you have the extra plus 50% armor debuff. This is huge for playing a support-ish role, which is what a lot of inbuilt power upgrades give the engineer the option to play this role, and you should, because it's the most contributive team kind of synergy that you have with all your powers debuffing. And then I went with Snap Freeze. I've played around with Cryo Trap. I've tried to make it work. Again, I've tried to make all builds work. I've tried, just to give you an idea, I've tried Omni Link with Overload. I've tried Omni Link with just Cryo Beam. I've tried Assault Turret. I tried three of the main powers, Cryo Beam, Assault Turret, and Overload max with taking just a bit of offense and a bit of support. I've tried everything, and I honestly don't like the way Cryo Trap feels like, especially because you feel like you are obligated to try and Cryo Beam everything. So Cryo Beam's one of the worst iterations of a freezing skill. If you've played Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, you've played Snap Freeze. Snap Freeze is instant, just like almost all the other skills in Mass Effect Andromeda. You cast it and it goes off, and you can do whatever you want afterwards. With Cryo Beam, you're obviously holding the skill down, and when you're aiming it out of cover, you have to get out of cover when you're charging it and using it. So I don't like Cryo Trap at all. So I went with Snap Freeze. Also, the Shadow Radius means that you're applying the Offensive Tech, Elemental Tech, and Support Systems Tech Sabotage. So that's pretty nice, and that's what I'm using. 1 point in Assault Turret, and for Overload, I am using Recharge. Once again, same reason as Cryo Beam, you want the Recharge for your skills to apply as much debuff as you can. I went for Anti-Shields instead of Charge Overload. You think you can go either one, honestly. You want to hit as many targets as you can because you are debuffing and CC character, but I went with Anti-Shields because this allows you to deal with shielded enemies, and I'll get back into that a little later on. I went with Maximum Charge for the extra bump in targets when Charge Overload hits. EMP is okay, I've tried it. It doesn't feel as impactful as it is with having extra Maximum Charge, and the reason why I didn't go like Charge Overload with EMP is because this allows you to deal more damage to chained targets. And that's the only reason why. Now for Offensive Tech, I went with Combo Detonation, and the reason I went with Combo Detonation over Power Enhancement is I actually went with Combo Radiuses, and this will actually do a lot with your Frozen Shadow Radius, and this will ensure that large groups of mobs that are more dispersed than usual will actually get affected by your Detonation Radius or Detonation combo. That's the reason why. You can go with either one, honestly. There is no right or wrong here. It's personal preference. I just went with Combo Detonation. It just felt better if you were like detonating and exploding a large area and affecting enemies with your debuffs. I went with Anti-Shields over Armor. This is also because I went with Anti-Shields in here. This allows you to take down the enemies that with the larger shields, like the Anointed in Forket, Observers in Remnant, which is what you'll see in another video, or probably the background or the small video that you see here, and Sharpshooters for the Outlaws. That's the reason why I went out that with anti-armor. You don't have a lot of good anti-armor skills like Incinerate or Flamethrower, all that, so I went with the anti-shields. Elemental Tech because you want because it's good in part of your kit, because the combo radiuses detonate and they apply the debuff, so you really want this debuff. Also, because from someone else's testing, I can't remember who, the elemental defense debuff applies to ammo types as well, so that's nice as well. You don't really need the weapon weight reduction, you don't need the stability, you don't need the accuracy. For support systems, tech duration, this makes up for not having tech power enhancement here for power effect durations. Also, this is a larger number, 30% as compared to 20%, and I went with tech duration over tech radius, because this is 25% radius as opposed to 30% radius, so it's better bang for your buck for your upgrade. Advanced constructions, because you need the health, as I said, no innate shield regeneration, no innate health regeneration, no way to provide that safely, no damage reduction, so I went with the advanced constructions for health and shields. Now, for the last one, I went with Tech Sabotage. This is one of the big ones. This is damage debuff for 30% hidden enemies with powers. With your Overload, everything that you hit with Overloads gets a damage debuff. Every armored target you hit with Crybeam gets a damage debuff and a defense debuff. So that's the reason why you want that over Shield Reset. Also, Shield Reset I've tried it as well, honestly. With the power efficiency mods, it's okay, but a lot of the times you'll find that your shields will disappear for a couple seconds, and then you really feel like you're stressed to play from cover to cover, and that you hunker down a lot. And that means you won't be able to use Crybeam, because Crybeam forces you out of cover. So that's why I went with Tech Sabotage. Now, for weapons, I am using... Actually, first of all, let me tell you what you should level up first. I would actually recommend getting at least 2 points in support systems early on, max health and max shields. Then I would get rank 4, not in Crybeam, sorry, wrong skill. Rank 4 in Overload for the recharge, because this is the big skill. I would consider this a more important skill than Crybeam, and I would get this to rank 4, and then honestly, I would probably max out Elemental Tech to get the Elemental Tech Elemental Defense debuff. God, I can't speak today. Words are hard, guys. And then I would max out support systems to get your health, and also get Tech Sabotage. Now, and then after that, it would be personal preference. I would probably max out Overload over Crybeam. The only reason you would max out Crybeam is probably to get the extra plus 50% armor debuff. Snap Freeze, you won't notice it as much, but you do kind of notice it. It's not as impactful as maxing it over something like Overload, so that's what I would recommend doing. Now, as for my weapons, I am using the Vanquisher, but the reason I'm using Vanquisher is because it synergizes really well with Overload. Overload you can actually use from cover. So obviously the main combo that you'd think engineers would use is Crybeam to get the frozen status, and then the Cry Explosion with detonating it with Overload. But this is actually what you do. What you do is you actually charge Overload from cover. Overload you can charge from cover without actually ducking over or exposing yourself. And then after you do, you scope into the target, and then you unleash Overload. Now what this means is you actually have 3 headshot potentials with your Vanquisher. So this is really nice for taking out, again, the shielded enemies and the heavily armored enemies, because Overload stuns. This is explained a bit better in my text guide in the description below, but basically there's 3 recognizable positions that last long enough for you to get headshots off when you overload them and they stun. So the first one is when they get outstretched and their hands are outstretched and their heads facing upwards. That's the first one. And then they kneel down to try and regain the composure. They start kneeling down, and that's the second headshot opportunity. The third is obviously when they get up and their head returns to their normal battle composure or normal battle stance, and that's the third headshot potential. Basically, Overloaded allows you to deal incredible amounts of headshot damage. That's the reason why I went with the Vanquisher. Also, it means I have power recharge speed, no net penalties using this setup. Scorpion again, if you've seen my builds, you know I love Scorpion. Incredible damage without exposing yourself out of cover. I pretty much use it as a secondary for all my classes. It is that good. AoE splash, no fire back out of cover. It's generally really nice. Juggernaut shield I'm using just for the shields now. Whenever a plus 20% shields equipment come out, that's probably going to be a best in slot for almost a lot of classes. That's what I'm thinking. If you want other weapons, you could use the other 3-shot, 5-shot sniper rifles, for example, the N7 Valiant, the Black Widow, but we all know how better Vanquisher are above the other sniper rifles. As for the playstyle, you're really filling in a kind of support sniper role. Instead of cryo beaming and shattering it with overload, a lot of times you might find that you'll find targets in cover or targets that you really want to take out. For example, these will be the saboteurs or the sharpshooters. For the K, it will be the anointed and the chosens, or for the remnant it will be the observers, nullifiers, and you want the be able to do a lot of damage in a short amount of time. So I went with overload and headshotting combination, and you'll see that in my videos that I, instead of cryo beaming something and shattering it, I would actually opt to overload first, and that's how I use this character. You still get the great debuffs of elemental tech and the tech sabotage, but you also get a lot of kill potential and a lot of ways to get rid of enemies using overload, stunning them, and using your sniper rifle. As for my consumables, definitely recommend the power efficiency mods. They are the best. The only defensive ones that you have are cyclonic mods, so you definitely want a cyclonic mod for the second one. That's mainly it. That's all I can really say about this class. One of the weaker classes, definitely, because no damage reduction, no innate way to regen shields. The only thing that it has is a debuff, which a lot of classes can provide with less risk involved, so I opted for a safer playstyle that you can actually utilize overload and get consistent headshots on, or consistent damage onto. A lot of people choose to play this as a support with little or not as much impactful damage, like you can't take out targets by yourself. I don't like that kind of playstyle. I really want to be able to take out priority targets by myself if I have to, so I opted with a overload stun with a sniper rifle kind of combination. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. I've said too much. I will leave you with the rest of the footage.
extraction zone.